The silence at the table was louder than the carol playing too cheerfully in the background. I let it stretch. My mother's fork hovered mid-air. My father blinked once, then twice, like the words hadn't registered. My sister laughed, one short, confused sound, waiting for the punchline. "There's no check this year," I said, calm, almost gentle. "Actually, there hasn't been one for 3 months." That was the moment, the collective inhale, the subtle panic that always arrives before denial. I watched their faces change and felt something uncoil in my chest. Relief, maybe, or the end of a long, expensive lesson. They used to call me the bank. It was a joke, always said with a grin, a way to make gratitude feel optional. I was useful, reliable, predictable, the one who never said no because I'd learned early that love, in my family, came with invoices. It started after my first real job, good salary, benefits. I was 24 and hungry to be needed. My parents were behind on the mortgage. Just a few months, they said, temporary. My sister had tuition due. She was so stressed. The vacation was already booked, non-refundable. I said yes, then again, then always. 5 years blurred together in wire transfers and polite nods. I paid bills quietly while they made jokes loudly about my long hours, about how I never dated, about how money was all I had. I smiled. I paid. I kept the machine running. The betrayal didn't arrive all at once. It crept in through patterns. The way my father stopped mentioning the mortgage, the way my mother started planning trips without checking dates, the way my sister switched majors twice and never once asked if I was okay with it. Then came the comment at Thanksgiving. "You don't really need savings," my sister said, carving turkey. "You don't have a life anyway." They laughed. I didn't. That night, I opened my laptop and pulled every statement I'd ever sent. I did the math. I saw the truth clearly for the first time. They weren't grateful. They were dependent, and they'd confused the two because I let them. I didn't confront them. I didn't cry. I didn't ask for respect. I planned. I called the bank and confirmed the mortgage was still entirely in my parents' names. I checked my sister's tuition portal. I spoke to a financial advisor who didn't flinch when I told him everything. He just nodded and said, "You're allowed to stop." So I did, quietly, methodically. 3 months before Christmas, I canceled every automatic payment. No warnings, no speeches. I wanted the truth to land unfiltered. I wanted reality to do the talking. The first missed mortgage payment triggered letters, then calls. My parents assumed it was a mistake. The second month brought late fees. They assumed I was busy. The third month sent everything into default. They still booked Christmas. They still expected the check. Back at the table, my mother finally spoke. "This isn't funny." "I know," I said. "Neither is foreclosure." My father stood up too fast, chair scraping. "What did you do?" "I stopped," I said. "I stopped paying for people who treat me like an ATM." My sister's face drained of color. "You can't just do that." I met her eyes. "I can. I did." They started talking over each other. Numbers, deadlines, excuses. I listened like an accountant auditing lies. When they paused, I told them the rest. The house was 3 months delinquent. Tuition hadn't been paid since October. The vacation deposit was gone. Credit scores were bleeding. Consequences were already in motion. "You should have told us," my mother whispered. I stood, picked up my coat. "You should have thanked me." I left them there, drowning in a reality I'd been holding back with my own hands for half a decade. Outside, the air was cold and clean. I breathed like someone who'd just surfaced. They tried to call, text, bargain, apologize. I didn't block them. I didn't need to. Silence was enough. They were finally learning how expensive it is to take someone for granted. Weeks later, I heard they sold the house, downsized. My sister took out loans. My parents stopped joking. As for me, I booked a trip alone, somewhere quiet, somewhere earned. I used to think revenge had to be loud, messy, cruel. I was wrong. Sometimes it's just stepping aside and letting people fall into the hole they dug while you were paying for the shovel. The panic on their faces that night wasn't victory, it was freedom.